Yeah, Sean, thanks. I think I've been appointed as a spokesperson. We met a few times and actually met last week in preparation for kind of these upcoming meetings, but want to welcome anybody on the team to kind of step in here and talk a little bit about Oklahoma, like our context, and also kind of where we're at kind of in this space. And noting that, a lot of us do have that personal but professional background in terms of the support that we're seeing here. But a little bit about Oklahoma that I think could be really helpful context is that over Oklahoma is really rural in terms of kind of our support and efforts in this space. So I think we can't talk about kind of our efforts without acknowledging like what the makeup of our state looks like in particular. So we know that a lot of our kind of rural hospitals, of the 78, and I will say this is coming off of like some really big funding cuts. I think this past week, a couple of days, one of our largest healthcare networks has reported pretty significant closure across the board with kind of those Medicaid cuts. So kind of looking at like our 78 rural hospital systems, 33 of those are at risk of closing and 22 are at like immediate risk. And over two-thirds of our rural hospitals no longer have any type of OB care. So I think that's really important in terms of like we add that onto a layer of lack of behavioral health support. So it really is, we're at like beyond crisis level of support here in our state. I think that's important. Also, kind of layering on like our policy environment is kind of important to recognize. We had some of the highest number of pregnancy related prosecutions in the country after Roe v. Wade was overturned. So in terms of kind of felony convictions for child neglect and abuse, really skyrocketed. So we kind of, I will say, have a pretty adversarial policy environment when it comes to supporting people who are impacted by substance use, and particularly people who are pregnant. So I think there's a lot of additional context when it comes into play that yes, we really love to support children and babies, but I think one key concern is like not the dyad as well. So it's really going to be focused on children disproportionately and not thinking about kind of the whole family continuum. So I just wanted to recognize that. And also like the fact that in Oklahoma, we have over 39 federally recognized tribes and tribal nations. So that's kind of a really key piece to like the landscape of Oklahoma, especially since the Supreme Court decision in 2020, the McGirt decision. So a significant portion of the eastern half of the state of Oklahoma, and that includes Tulsa, is legally tribal reservation land. Now, a lot of those have, tribal courts and jurisdictions and systems, ICWA implementation. So I think there's like a sovereignty aspect of this as well. So in terms of a Maddie's Place model, we're talking about kind of design and support that doing that without tribal nations, I think would be a really disservice to our communities here in Oklahoma.